What if I told you those leek scraps you're about to toss could grow into a never-ending supply of fresh leeks? All you'll need is water, with no soil and no special gear. If that sounds good to you, then let's go. With this method, it'll work right on your kitchen counter, even when the temperatures outside dip below freezing. We'll be using an indoor water propagation method, which keeps your leeks alive through winter. No grow lights and no greenhouses needed. So we're about to turn kitchen scraps worth pennies into a renewable source of fresh produce and cutting food waste at the same time. Now that's a win-win. It's practical, simple, and perfect for anyone who wants fresh leeks on hand year-round. But before you get started, there's one crucial step that will make or break your regrowth. And that is getting the cut right. In this first step, we're going to be unlocking reliable regrowth from your leek scraps. So let's focus on the white base, the section where the roots are attached, and the tightly packed leaf sheaths meet. This area holds the meristematic tissue, which contains the active cells that will drive new shoots and roots. So for best results, slice your leek so you leave about 1 to 2 inches of the white stem above the roots. This gives you enough living tissue for the plant to regenerate, without wasting too much of the edible leek. As you can see from the condition of my leeks, they're pretty weathered. They've been sitting in my fridge for probably about 2 weeks now since I purchased them from the supermarket, and the outer layer is looking quite wrinkly and old. Now ideally, you're going to be using a sterilized sharp knife so we don't transfer any possible bacteria from the knife onto the leek. If you don't have any sterilizing liquid, simply cleaning this knife under hot water using soap will do the trick. With that knife, you're going to make a clean, smooth slice. Don't overthink the angle and don't get too technical. Just make sure it's a straight, clean cut through the base. Now if you have a dull blade, you may crush the leek, which I potentially did to one of these leeks here, as you can see. By crushing the leek, you will invite rot and potentially damage the areas that we need for it to use to regrow. So once you've cut the leek, take a quick look at the end. You should see moist, pale rings, which will be green on the inner circles. These are the layers where new growth will emerge. If the tissue looks firm and there are no brown spots or soggy areas, your leek base is ready for the next step. Unfortunately, my leeks have been sitting in the fridge for over 2 weeks now, so the outer layers are looking quite weathered, old and wrinkly. And you can even see some brown spots developing. To ensure these leeks have the best chance of regrowth, I'm going to be removing the outer layers of the leek to ensure there's no bacteria that will potentially grow while we're doing this experiment. So let's refocus and look at how to choose the right leek base. If your leek roots are caked with soil, which is a good thing because that means they're organic, give them a gentle rinse under cool water. But don't scrub too hard because the outer layer is actually quite fragile and you want to prevent any bruising. Choosing the right leek base is just as important as making the right cut. Pick leeks with healthy white bases and plenty of small root hairs. As you can see with my leeks, there weren't many existing roots, which I found actually quite interesting because previous leeks that I've regrown had plenty of roots showing. Now I'm interested to see whether these 2 leeks will actually regrow at the same rate and healthy growth that I've seen previously. And in the true garden benchtop fashion, I'll be doing update videos, so if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe and like button, and let's continue on with this experiment. So the reason why you want fresh leeks with visible root hairs is because this will give your leeks the best opportunity to regrow. The faster you can get these leeks growing, the less chance and minimization of bacteria growing and your leeks leading to rot. Okay, let's talk about the setup. When you're ready to set your leek bases up, you want to keep the cut side facing up. This exposes the growth rings to the air, which helps prevent rot and allows new shoots to push through easily. The roots should point downward to soak up water, and positioning the leek base upright is important. Now when choosing a container or something to regrow your leek bases in, the main thing you need to ensure is that it's clean, ideally sterilized like the knife blade. Again, the reason why we want to keep things clean and sterilized is to prevent that bacteria, and that is your number one concern. Now I'm going to choose my trusty Star Christmas dish, which I have used in previous experiments. I don't know why. Obviously it's a dish that we don't use very often, and it's just nice to look at. So this is what I'm going to be using for this experiment. Now when it comes to the water level, the one thing you're looking for is ensuring all the roots are covered by the water. Ideally we'll be using filtered fresh water, and we'll be replacing this every day. If you can't manage every day, at least every other day. And the reason for replacing the water frequently is to ensure that the water is oxygenated. And I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but it's to prevent any bacteria from growing. Now, what you can expect from the days to come is if you have a healthy, properly cut base, you'll start to notice new roots forming and the green shoots starting to emerge from the top of the leek base. These are early signs that indicate that your experiment is working and your leek is on its way to regrowing. In terms of maintenance, keep it in a light and bright area, ideally not in direct sunlight, otherwise that may dry out the leek base too much. Somewhere with indirect sunlight, if you can, try and keep it in a warm area. That will encourage new growth. And when you're replacing the water, give your dish a bit of a wipe down to avoid that slimy buildup. Now, I can't emphasize enough the change of water, because once you've got this experiment set up, that is going to be your key to success for regrowth. Now, a few signs to keep an eye out for just to ensure that your leek is moving in the right direction. If the water starts to look a bit cloudy or smells a bit rank, definitely change it. Doesn't matter if you just changed it earlier in the day. This will just help to proactively prevent any bacteria growth. You'll also want to look at the leek base itself. Now, my leeks, after 2 weeks of growing, started to form a slimy and brown look about it. Now, at first this may seem a little bit concerning, but I expected this just based on previous experience. It just means that the outer layers are starting to break down. Now, to be proactive and to encourage your leek to keep on growing healthily, we need to remove these whenever you get the opportunity. And that's a very simple process. Simply pick up your leek base and just make a little bit of a peel on the top and just break the top of the outer layer. And all you need to do is tear away the top of the outer layer. If the inner layers are still a bit brown and slimy, all you need to do is simply continue tearing out the layers. I recommend just going one layer at a time until you reach a fresh white layer of leek, and in that way you won't unnecessarily remove any good productive material from the leek. In terms of growth speed, as I mentioned before, my leeks are growing in the winter months of the year. Ultimately, it will come down to the amount of light, the room temperature, and the time that you are growing your leeks. But in the first week, expect to see plenty of root growth. In the second week, you'll start to see those inner layers start to shoot up from the leek base. Towards the end of the second week and into the third week, you'll start to see the newly grown leek layers start to branch out a bit as if it's growing in the ground. As you can see from mine, they've started to look like a little leek plant, which is exactly where we want to be. And before you know it, you're going to have a new regrown leek. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be enough to use in your cooking, but what we're going to be doing next is planting this leek scrap into the ground, but we're going to have to leave that one for another video. So make sure to go check that out on the channel, and if you haven't already, subscribe and like this video, and we'll see you in the next one. As always, happy gardening, and go get your hands dirty.